Good morning, it's September 29th. This is To My Little Friends. Well, Tuesday at midnight is the witching hour when supposedly the government was shut down due to Congress being unable to pass a funding bill. Politicians will wail and gnash their teeth over the calamity of it all, but what will really happen? Having spent my entire professional life working around the Congress and going through multiple shutdowns, I can tell you that much of this is political theater and nothing more. If the truth is being told, the government is never shut down, not once. What people call shutdowns affect only the most visible, least essential services. The actual machinery of government continues operating normally during the shutdowns. Wednesday morning, USDA food safety inspectors will walk into meat processing plants across America. They have examined 37 billion pounds of meat this year, not because politicians told them to do it this week, because that's what the permanent government does every year. In windowless rooms at the National Weather Service, meteorologists are today analyzing atmospheric data that determine whether your flight gets delayed tomorrow. At USDA's Global Intelligence Centers, analysts are tracking crop conditions in 95 countries because that could affect food prices for Americans in months to come. All of these functions and many more will continue to operate regardless of what Congress does before midnight Tuesday. What actually stops during the shutdowns are the visible, public-facing services that make citizens feel the political pain. This includes tourist visits to national parks and Smithsonian's and processing of some permits and application. Here's what does continue: nuclear reactor monitor, air traffic control, food safety inspection, disease surveillance, border security, law enforcement, military operations, Social Security payments, Medicare processing, weather forecasting, and thousands of other essential functions. In terms of shutdown language, the government consists of 15 enormous agencies that run the country. The government in this sense is very different and separate from politics. Politics is what happens in Congress. The debates, the standoffs, the theater of elected officials. Government is the infrastructure of 2.2 million career people who maintain complex systems regardless of election outcomes. This separation isn't bureaucratic inefficiency, it is democracy's firewall against political manipulation of essential services. It prevents politicians from weaponizing things like food safety, air traffic control, or nuclear safety for electoral advantage. So what does shutdown theater actually cost taxpayers? Lost productivity for starters. The 2013 shutdown cost $2.5 billion back pay for 850,000 furloughed employees who missed a combined 6.6 million workdays. All that productivity was permanently lost since they were paid for work not performed. Now, what would scare the Democrats is Donald Trump in his meeting today with Jeffries and Schumer announcing that if the Democrats in the Senate would decide to withhold the necessary votes and the government does shut down, there will be no back pay. Now, since government workers are mostly Democrats, this would give both of them something to consider. How do you think 4 senators from Maryland and Virginia, both all Democrats, with a multitude of government workers, would react to having to tell their constituents, if we vote no on the CR, then you might not get paid for the days we forced you to miss? And that would mean Trump would have to try and supersede a 2019 law that says workers will get back pay, but never underestimate Donald Trump. Shutdowns are also result in special expenses specifically related to preparing for shutdowns. Before each shutdown, agencies must develop detailed contingency plans outlining which functions will continue and which will stop. This pulls hundreds of thousands of employees from their regular duties to document procedures that everyone hopes will never be used. Shutdowns cause economic disruption. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the 2018-19 shutdown reduced GDP by $11 billion in all, including $3 billion that will never be recovered. The 2013 shutdown cost the economy $24 billion and 120,000 private sector jobs, so there are some costs. So just to summarize, here's a list of what closed and what stays open. Closed: Smithsonian Museums. The National Zoo will close to the public. Though the zoo's animals will continue to be fed and cared for, so those workers have to work. What will stay open: the United States Postal Service. It'll be not interrupted. The Postal Service is primarily funded by sale of its products and services, not tax dollars. The Veterans Administration will stay open. Its medical centers, outpatient clinics, and vet centers will all stay open. It's unclear if it's possible the national parks would close. They did close during a shutdown under former President Obama in 2013, but they remained open during the last 35-day shutdown in 2018-19, despite bare-bones staff. A March 24 National Park Service contingency plan said most sites will be closed in a shutdown. The National Park Service has told The Hill that plans are being updated and will be put online as they're finalized. The U.S. Capitol public tours will be suspended and closed, and White House tours have already been suspended because of construction of the new ballroom. The Supreme Court is expected to continue normal operations in the event of a shutdown. So what I'm saying is the government basically stays open. There are some things that you might want to do or you might see, and depending on your individual, that will be closed. But this is all more political theater, and eventually, the politicians on Capitol Hill are going to have to find a way to fund the government. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.